One day, the Youthful Ambition brand will be bringing its gratitude to the world stage. A gratitude to have successfully pursued the opportunities to tell the stories that impact in its scripted digital cinema series. To promote the ambitious at heart and its campaign ambition initiatives, as well as in its mini documentaries. To have provided valuable exposure to all of its sponsors via the TV series and continuing the best of conversations on its podcasts.
Hey guys, my name is Terence Gordon. I am the creator and founder of the Youthful Ambition YA trademark, a brand and digital cinema series. And this podcast is about all things ambition, not just filmmaking. I am a filmmaker. I'm a director, producer, writer, and editor with TNG Films and Black Ink Pictures, and have been directing commercials and music videos and feature films for some time now. But this podcast is a lot more than just about filmmaking. It is about all things ambition. And the success of this podcast would be based upon how many people it can be helpful to. So do us a favor if you can and share these interviews with your friends, with your family, and anyone that you think might be able to benefit from this. So do us that big favor. We would much, much, much appreciate it. It is an honor, my friend, to have you on here since we go back, way back. After all, this podcast is about ambition, you know, it's all things ambition, and you've been a super ambitious person from the time that I met you. You were all about ambition. And you know, when I met you, you were starting out, and well, you were already entrenched in music, and then later into film and video production and directing. And so I want to kind of let folks know a little bit about you, for those that don't know you already.
To simplify everything, I consider myself just a creator. As you know, we met while I was doing music, and at that point I was a writer and a recording artist and also a performer. And then later on I started with the whole video and film production, and I'm doing that also. So it's like I consider myself like a creator. I just like being creative. I just like doing creative things. Anything that gives you an opportunity to take something from a thought and actually turn it into something physical that people can watch, see, and it affects their lives also. I'm really into that. So yeah, I'm a creator.
Okay. You know, your production company, Deuce Benny, you know, and if folks have seen a lot of the videos that you've done, you know, you've been working with a lot of top acts in the reggae world, shooting all over the world as well. And I've always been inspired by the music videos that you've done from a creative aspect. I always got a kick at how the production was done, you know, the style of your shooting, the creative process that you put into making things happen as far as that. Give us a little bit of an idea, you know, of a typical shoot and how you come up, you know, with concepts, how you come up with shooting, and for those techies out there, you know, the kind of equipment that you're on producing these videos.
I feel like every music video is different because there's so many different things you got to consider. The type of song, budgets. So every music video is different, but the first thing that I like to do, I kind of listen to the song, and then within the song there's always a story. And then once I have the story or the idea of where I want the song to go, then I start to think about where the budgets are, what we have, what we don't have, and I try to create a story that can fit within that budget. I always try to keep things simple, not too many locations, because the more locations, the more moves, it's the more expensive it gets. So I think about the story, and then once I get on set, I have the idea of what I want to do, then I just let it all come together, because sometimes you can overplan. Sometimes we plan for like a million things and then things change, so you have to be able to make that adjustment. So I'll get on set, I'll move that camera around, find the right angle that I like. I have to feel it, you know, and sometimes the angles are a little bit off, they're unorthodox, but I like what I'm feeling. I like how it looks, so I keep with that, you know. Like even when I'm shooting, I'm in there with the artist as the artist is performing. I like to go handheld with a lot of the camera movements sometimes, because it's just a feeling and there's an emotion and there's a vibe in the camera, you know. So that's how I kind of go about most video shoots. There's never really a set plan that it has to be exactly this way. There's always an idea of where I want to go, and again, things change and you have to be open to those changes.
And you edit most of your own videos, right?
Yeah, I try to, out of necessity, because at first when we first started this, we didn't really have big budgets to have someone else edit it. When we first started in video production, really was just a conversation with a friend of mine, Rudy. We used to have a clothing company. Deuce Benny was actually a clothing company originally, and he came one day and he said, you know what, I like doing the clothing, but I think I want to make movies, because once you buy your camera and you buy your equipment, like, you don't always have to worry about keeping up with the changes in style, the seasons and all of that. So he just picked up a camera and we started shooting. I said, hey, you shoot and I'll edit. And I went on YouTube and I learned to edit from YouTube. So a lot of the stuff we've learned is because we had to do it. We do our own lighting sometimes. We write our own stories just because we had to. There was no one to do it. Like, we didn't have the budget to pay anyone. So yeah, everything is self-contained.
So the creative genius that definitely came out of necessity in terms of being able to produce these things on your own and work within the confines that you've been given. Tell me a little bit about, you know, shooting in the US versus shooting overseas. I know you've done a lot of shooting also in Jamaica, and probably other places in the Caribbean. You know, tell me a little bit about that.
I think it's the same idea, just really different places. Shooting in New York is cool because, you know, you're there, you kind of know places there, so you know where you want to go, you know. So and there's a different energy in New York versus the energy in the Caribbean. It's easier to find a lot of people that's doing the same thing that you're doing in New York versus the Caribbean. So it's kind of harder to find in the Caribbean. It's kind of harder to find people that's doing the same thing. So where you need equipment and different things is a little bit harder. But I also love shooting in the Caribbean because that energy is different. When you see these locations, because you're not looking at it every day and you're kind of like a tourist, everything is just amazing, everything is beautiful. You see a tree, you see a little dog running around to bring character, and it has all these elements that you just can't pay for. I think even with New York, I grew up in New York. I spent most of my life in New York, even though I was born in Jamaica. So I've been in both places, but more time was spent in New York. So big buildings and train tracks, all of that is just normal to you. So it's like sometimes you don't see the creative aspect of it because you see it all the time. Whereas when you go to the Caribbean, everything is just cool. It's beautiful. It has character. The people, they have character. I mean, there's not really one that I prefer, but it's just different. I like being able to be in different environments and capturing like the whole culture within that environment, if you know what I mean. So I like shooting in both places. I think it's just it's a different approach. I think with New York now, you have to be able to. I want to get myself in a space where I could see New York like as a tourist would see it, you know. Because sometimes I see people that come to New York and they're able to capture imagery that I don't pay attention to because it's normal. Like they're fascinated by, look at that building. Wow. Just even the bums on the street, and you walk past it every day and you don't see the creativity in it. You don't see the culture. You don't see the story in a lot of things that's around you. So with any creator, I feel like any creator should just really try to open your eyes more to what's around you and try to find the beauty in it, and don't take it for granted, you know, because sometimes you can't be all over the world. You can't go everywhere and shoot. What's in front of you, you got to be able to create that art out of what's directly in front of you, and I think that's important.
Yeah, well said, man. You know, we both lived in New York for a long period of time, and now we both have moved from there, but go back and forth. And I could agree with you on that. You know, when I go back to New York now, I can see it more as a tourist now than when I was living there, and I start to see things that I didn't see when I was actually living there, because you know, you just become oblivious to it, type of thing. But yeah, you know, seeing through a different kind of lens, type of thing. You know, I want to speak a little bit about one of the short films that I know that you did that was very successful, called Insects. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about what it was, you know, what the story was, and then let's talk a little bit about the creativity of that.
Well, Insects is a story about a young couple. For the female, the main character, Taya, she's a successful businesswoman. She's accomplished everything that she wants in life. The only area she struggles in is the area of relationships. Like, she hasn't settled down. She haven't been able to find success. So she meets Sean, which is like the perfect guy for her. Everything is just perfect. It's almost a little bit too perfect. And slowly she starts to discover things about Sean, and information surface. I don't want to go too deep into it to tell, because there is a great twist at the end that if you do get a chance to check out, Insects is actually on Amazon. If you have Prime, you could view it for free, or you could just, you know, even if you have Prime, you could purchase it, you know, support us so we could keep on making films. But yeah, it's about Taya and Sean. Those are the main characters, and as they go deep in the relationship, they discover information that force them to either decide to stay together or not. But the whole idea behind Insects, I actually wrote the film. I co-wrote the film with the main actress, Princess Bay, only because I was doing a lot of music videos, and I said, you know, I'm pretty good at doing music videos. I know how to do it. I want to challenge myself and actually work on a film. So let me start with this 13-minute short film. I had the concept. I wrote the basic dialogue, but I wanted to bring Princess in to give that female voice, because a lot of times when you're writing something, you tend to stay in that same voice, you know. So I wanted to bring that female element to it, and we sat down, we went back and forth, like we really got to know each other, and we got to talk about how females think versus how males think, and we were able to create this story. Now, Princess is someone that I went to school with. Like, we're always friends, party together, wild out, but we've never really hooked up on a creative level. So as I was doing music videos, I was doing a music video for Kevin Lloyd. He's also a reggae artist, and I needed I wanted to move away from the typical video girl and bring in someone that could actually act, that could bring some emotion to the video, because it had a story there. You know, the name of the song was Straight Away. You could check that out also. So I called a friend of mine, and she told me, hey, Princess is now acting. You know, she's serious about it. She quit her job, and this is what she's pursuing. She's going to acting school. She's doing all these theatrical performances. So after we linked up on the music video, I called and I said, yeah, I got this idea. I hope you'd support me on it. I don't want it to be too complicated. You would be the main character. Everything would be built around you and your acting, because I think you're very talented. And we just went out there and did it. I've never directed a short film before. That was the first. We did casting. I've never done casting for a film. Even for my music videos, I don't really cast. We kind of know what we want, or we know people within our circle that we could just reach out for, because we've been in the entertainment business. So I actually got to go into the city, and went through the whole process of doing a film, from casting, from writing the backstories, and it was a great experience. And I would encourage anyone, if you're sitting down, don't really think about anything too much, just get up and do it. Because with Insects, we just got up, we shot it. We had a lot of problems with audio. We had to revoice stuff because we really didn't know how to capture the audio perfectly. We didn't have the budget to pay a big audio guy that knew what he was doing, that had all the top of the line equipment. So we pretty much did the audio ourselves. We've always been great with lighting, and we have relationships with people that are DPs. So my friend Al Rivera came on set, helped us out with the lighting, and you know, the production, it looked great. We put Insects in some festivals, and we actually won awards. Santa Monica Film Festival, it was a surprise to me because we got an email that said 35. This is the first time ever in the history since they've been doing the Santa Monica Film Festival that 35 judges actually sat down and unanimously voted for that film. Like, they were sitting in the room, and when the story plot was revealed, they were like, wow, this is different. And the minute we got to California to actually go to the premiere, when we walked in, we had the Insects hat on. They already knew who we were. They was like, hey, you the guys from Insects, man. Insects, we've been talking about that the entire time, you know. So they were happy to meet us. And the greatest thing is that we premiered during that film festival at 8 p.m., which I didn't know that was like prime time. They've been showing films throughout the day from like 12 o'clock. Some of the big budget films that were $100,000 films, they didn't get to premiere at 8 o'clock. And they were upset. It was like, how come a little short film was able to premiere at 8 o'clock? A little 13-minute film, and our big budget $100,000, $200,000 film didn't get to premiere because it was just a better film. It was a different concept. I mean, they had all the I saw the film, a few of the film. They had all the fan dangles. They had actors that I recognized, you know, and they had the big production, the dolly moves, the you name it, you know, the drones. It was great.
Wow.
But in terms of concept, you know, this was something new. This was something fresh.
Okay. You know? So what would you say that, you know, from that experience, like, you know, what do you think it has all taught you? What was a good takeaway?
Well, I just feel like with filmmaking, sometimes you could think about it too much. And it's always good to really plan everything and know what you want to do. But you have to make up your mind to just do it, because sometimes great things come out of not knowing or not having everything planned. You know, sometimes you just have to do it. And from doing that film, I actually started a movement, you know, and it's called Go Mo Do, which means going, moving, doing. Because as I look at my life and a lot of the things that I've gotten involved in, it was always based on that principle. So the whole principle of Go Mo Do is to say that there's really no secret to success, but there is a formula. If you have an idea, you have to get going, keep moving, and just never stop doing, even when it becomes hard. And there was a lot of challenges with Insects. There's things that I didn't know that forced me to now go on YouTube, call a friend, buy a tutorial, learn something new, learn about cleaning up audio, editing audio, you know, learn about isotopes. That's a great tool that saved me a lot in the whole Insects process, because certain audio I just couldn't voice over, but it was very noisy. And I started researching online. I heard about isotopes, got isotopes, and was amazed at what isotopes could do. I watched a few tutorials on dialogue editing, just taking one vocal from a totally different place and tried to line up just that word with the lips, and made it. I learned a lot by just doing things. You learn a whole bunch, so you know how to plan better for the next one. So what I did learn from Insects, man, just get up and do something and make sure you complete it. Because many times I had those moments where I'm like, all right, I spent a lot of money doing this. Not a lot of money, but a couple of $1,000s doing it. And
it's all relative, like, right? Yeah.
You know what? Forget it, man. I'll just do better on the next one. But then I had that moment that said, nah, finish this. There's something you're going to learn from this. And I was surprised to see that the film actually won about 3 awards, you know. And we got to meet different people that's a part of this whole process. And then the amount of people that actually came out to our premieres, because we did a few premieres. You know, so yeah, what I learned from it is just go more do. If you have an idea, get going, keep moving, and never stop doing. Make sure you complete that task and just put it out there, right? We're in a time where there are no rules. This is art, you know, and people are appreciating art a lot more. So everything is not about that big Hollywood blockbuster with all the amazing effects and all of that. People actually want to see real stories, and they want to see different stories because they haven't gotten it in a long time. The Hollywood formula has been the formula, and everyone has been trying to do it, but they don't have the budget to do it. They don't have the big name actors and actresses to do it. So now this is like a beautiful time that we're living in. So if you have an idea or anything you want to do, just get going, keep moving, and never stop doing. And that was the greatest lesson that I learned from actually doing Insects. And now I'm working on other films. From Insects, I started working on a series called Playing Dirty with the author Kiki Swinson. I would have never gotten a chance to work on that series if I hadn't done Insects, because she's always known about me, you know, but she's never seen anything outside of a music video. So once she saw actual something closer to what she was looking for, we were able to actually do a project together. And there's other projects that's coming from that also. So yeah, you gotta just do it.
This podcast is, you know, under the Youthful Ambition brand, and so it's all things ambition. And you know, what you've exhibited there is all ambition, you know, when it comes to, you know, just getting up and going ahead and making it happen with whatever resources that you have, and turning out something, because you just don't know what's gonna come from it. And when, you know, as you said, when you feel like you just want to give up on something because, you know, you're just tired on it, or you run out of resources, you're like, you know what, now let me just push a little bit further, just a little bit further. And I mean, hey, I take my hat off to you, man. So Santa Monica Film Festival, great film festival, and to win something on that that's pretty good. And just all the stuff that you've learned from that, you know. And you know, I've been lucky enough to see you perform and stuff like that in the past when you were doing the music, and just being such a great, passionate performer. You go out there with all that energy level, you know, and doing your stuff. And then when you went into the film stuff, I'm like, man, is this guy making a mistake, man, doing this? But, you know, it's like, as I've seen you, and because I've known you over the years, it's like watching, you know, that you've been able to translate, you know, all that same energy into your film work. And if there's one thing that I know about you, man, is, you know, I pick up that phone, I call you, you're like studying. You know, you're always studying and working on your craft. And I want to talk a little bit about that, especially in the cinematography stuff, because, you know, I know you've done some work on my feature film for Michelle, which is coming out this year. And, you know, and I look at those scenes and, you know, I'm just like, wow, you know, I can see a certain difference in terms of your cinematography style, in terms of how you light things, and that certain look that you have with it, versus someone else's. Not that the other cinematographers' stuff wasn't good, it was equally good, just different, you know, right. Just different process, different ways of experimenting, different, you know, lens choices and things like that. But you know, tell me a little bit about that. I mean, like, you know, you're a guy that's always studying because you're self-taught, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm always studying the craft, but I study to learn. I want to learn what other people have done. I want to learn about how they think about cinematography, but at the same time, I always go with that feeling. Like when I'm on set, and I'll move that light around. I don't have a formula to say, yo, I'm gonna have the key light at a 45-degree angle, or, you know, I move it until I like the way it feels. Once I have the lighting that I like how it looks, I just and that's the key. You could follow all the rules in the world, and then you'll be able to light exactly like someone else, but you have to create your own style, you know. So I move that key light around until I find what I like. It might be at a 90-degree angle. It might be completely backlit, depending on the mood I'm going for. You know, once I like it, then even with the camera, man, I have that camera in my hand. It's hard for me to look at the scene and say, yo, the camera is gonna be over here. This is the best. You know, I have that camera in my hand, and I'm moving, and I'm looking at that monitor, and I'm like, yeah, I like it right here. I feel it right here. I'm feeling something. You know, and that's where I'm going to place my camera. And sometimes even when I place my camera in the first position, I might try a different angle, and then I like it there. And I might do the whole damn performance over because I like how this feel. Like I was just doing a car scene where I was shooting the main actor and the focus was on him, right? So now I switched over to cover the other actor, and I love the way the main actor performed on the reverse shot. He was his performance was much better. Seeing him more on the shadow side where we couldn't see every aspect of his face. I didn't light him. I was more, the other artist was, the other performer was lit, and I loved his performance from there, and I was able to rack focus, and when I racked into him, it was a little bit darker, but he was in a dark space because he's a pastor, but he's going through an emotional journey because he found out he was adopted. He tried to meet his adopted parents and they rejected him, so he was in such a dark place. So not having so much light on him and just seeing like just his eyes, and then I'd rack focus to the other actor that's encouraging him, and as the actor is talking to him, he's still into that moment of how he's feeling. So once I do that rack focus and he seems like he's so distant, like I'm hearing you but I'm not hearing you right now, I'm in my emotions, I don't care about anything positive that you're saying, I'm just in this dark place. And I loved that angle, and I loved how it felt, and I was saying to myself, when I go into edit, I'm just gonna play it right from this angle. So for me, my cinematography is all about a feeling. Yes, I know what a key light is, I know what a backlight is, I know how to diffuse the light, make it wrap around, everything, all the technical stuff. I know what a HMI is gonna give me versus what a tungsten light is gonna give me. I understand all of that, and I just want to know that so that I know what tools. It's like you're a carpenter. If you have to put in a nail, you're gonna use a hammer. If you want to break up a wall, you might use a hammer also, even though it was intended for driving a nail. So I want to understand what everything does so that I could create what I feel. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes plenty sense. Only because, again, coming from a filmmaker background myself, even though for me it was a little bit more structured, going to school to study it versus watching, yourself who's self-taught. NYU film directing education was great, but the most stuff that I've learned was when we used to work together and we used to shoot music videos and all that stuff, learning things. And it's just that actual doing that, where we kind of got the most education. But the thing I noticed that you talk about a lot, which is, feeling something. And, it takes me back to, and I know I keep making the comparison with the music and the stuff like that, listening to some of your early albums when you used to put out music and watching you perform in Queens and those places and stuff. And, I remember how people, like I used to spend a lot of time observing both you on the stage as well as the people in the audience and how they're feeling, how they're reacting to how you're making them feel. You know what I mean? Right. And then when I come back into the film world now and I watch the stuff that you do, and it's something that you spend a lot of time paying attention to, is how am I feeling is going to probably be how these people are going to feel, and that's a good and important thing to know because it translates. You know what I mean? It translates from how, if you're going to feel great about this shot and, how it made you feel, then most likely your audience is going to probably feel something very similar. Even though, filmmaking is such a subjective, subjective medium in some ways, even though from the audience perspective, it's an objective look from the outside, but at the same time, we all relate to it in our own way. And that's why we can never always please everyone. But that concentration on how things make you feel, I noticed that's been a major concentrate for you. And I think that's a very important lesson.
And I think I get that from music because the years of doing music, it's like you write a song and the words are there and you could rhyme and it's dope. There's a great beat. But when you're delivering that song, it's like every word you have to feel it, because you have what I realized from even touring and doing music. We'd go into some countries where they didn't even speak English, but they knew the song word for word. Someone would come up to you off a concert and they're singing, "Oh, I love that song," and they're singing it word for word. Like, forget even I love that song, because they can't even tell you I love that song, but you see their energy and they're singing the song to you word for word, but they can't speak to you. You know, they can't really have a conversation with you. They know a few words, but the song, the emotion in the song is what grabs them. And a lot of times we listen to music and we think we like the words of the song, but you don't realize that you hear the words after. You like the beat, the emotion, the vibe that's in it, and then you keep listening to it, and slowly you get the words of the song, but it's how that song made you feel, and that's important. And what you feel, everyone else is not gonna feel. That's why if you're the director of photography or you're the director, you always have to go with that gut instinct. If you didn't like that performance, do it over. Don't let anyone tell you anything, because the person that's lighting, he's gonna love the shot because the lighting is right. He loves the way the lighting is, you know. But you as the director, you know, you have to feel that performance. You have to feel that scene. And whatever you're doing on that set, you gotta feel it. And even if you're the light, if you're lighting the scene and you're the director of photography, you know, you have to feel that too. You have to feel it. And if you're feeling it and the director is feeling it, you're gonna have a great project. So at the end of the day, man, everything in life is all about how things make you feel. You know, if you're married, it's all about how your wife make you feel, whether she make you feel good. It's all about feelings and emotions. So you got to make sure.
That's why we do drugs on it. This is how we feel. I'm feeling high as a kite right now. Yep. No, we're not actually feeling high as a kite. Nobody's smoking here, folks, so relax. But, but I'm just saying that, yeah, you're right. It is all about feeling, right? We watch horror movies because we want to feel something, or we watch, or whatever it is. And you have to pay attention to that in every aspect, you know, because we had to do our own scoring, you know, and we've never done it before. But we'd play, we'd play a lot of the music underneath the scene, and it's just like, it's great music. It has all the right sound, but what am I trying to feel from this scene? It's not giving me that feeling. Nah, Ramsey, that's not gonna work. That feels too much like something else. It's not feeling like what's happening right now. You know, and even sometimes I'm editing and I'm trying to get that cut perfectly, and I really just close my eyes and I hit that space bar, because this is where I feel like this thing should cut at, you know. So I would look at the waves on the audio track when I'm editing, and I'm like, okay, this is where the bass came in, you know. Right here I see the spike, so this is where the bass came in, so I want to cut on here. That's where the hit is, and I would cut there, but the picture didn't feel right. It still felt like it jumped. So sometimes I'd be editing, I'm playing it, and I hit that space bar. This is where I feel it, and it might be a half a second or just a few frames before or after that kick, but it felt right to me, and that would be the edit. And that would be the edit. Now I know what you're saying, man. You know, editing my own feature film as well, it's, you know, it's, I can't tell you how many times I just taken out entire scenes or extremely big chunks of pieces, because when I wrote it at one point, it's like, okay, you know, this is kind of what I felt when I wrote this. But then when the actors delivered it, I get another feeling. And then when I get to the edit room, it's like a completely other feeling when you drop the music behind it and put the score behind it and what's not. And yeah, you know, so I can totally relate to that. And you learn so much through editing, you know. That I mean, that's the final rewrite, you know, when you're editing. So yeah, that's I can totally relate with that, man. So let me ask you this: you know, you've worked with a lot of different great reggae people over the years, and you know, what have you learned from those in terms of you know, and again, this is a podcast a lot to do with about ambition. Who have you been most excited to work with, you know, and why? In the top of my head, one of the artists I grew up watching and always looked up to was Beenie Man, you know, and watching him and even working with him, it's just the work ethic. Like, he is who he is. Like, maybe when he started out, Beenie Man was a character, but he embodied that character and that became him. So if you're ever around him, he's an artist 24/7. You know, like,
he's walking around and he's singing, humming melodies, and he's talking about the business. Like, if you're around him, he's so passionate about the business, he could tell you what year certain songs came out, what he was feeling at the time when that song came out, why he wrote this song, and he's just all about music. And with a lot of the artists that I work with that have made it, like, they live, they breathe it. There's nothing else. They might know a little bit about finance, they might know because somebody told them something, but they know everything about the business that they're in. They're studying it, and it's dope to really see that even as an artist, they also study other artists, and they look at things they like from that artist, and they apply some of those things to their art. So you always have to be studying. Like, if you want to be successful, you have to really engulf yourself into that world, whatever world you want to be in, whether it's film, whether it's music. You have to just be in it, watching the music videos, watching everything. Is those sudden nuances, is those small things that actually make you better. Because as I'm studying, and that's why I study a lot, it's just those little things, that little thought, someone, like, whenever I'm studying a subject, like, I buy like 3 different authors talking about the same thing, because 2 things happen. That one thing that everyone keep talking about, that thing you have to really pay attention to, and there's always 1 or 2 things that another author talks about and no one else talks about, and that's what makes the difference in that guy's stuff. So you got to figure out how that could apply to you. So, like, from working with a lot of these top artists, one thing I know is that they're always studying their craft. They're always trying to get better. They're always studying what other people are doing, and they're not only looking at the people that's maybe ahead of them or been more successful than them, but they're also looking at the people that's on the come up, because those people have like a different style, something new that they're doing that's dope too. Right. And they could take that, and being as an artist that's established, they could take that potential that they see in someone else and perfect it, you know. So yeah, like, we're working with like people like Beanie Man, people like Tony Mataran is another one. Like, I did a lot of shows with Mataran, and he's always studying, man. He's always studying music. He's always listening to it. He could tell you a million stories about what he was thinking when he went into a clash with another sound. You know, he was always studying that other person. It's like he's studying the competition. He knows what he likes, and he knows how he's gonna go about setting up his shows. Sometimes he study where he is. Like, if he's in Miami versus Jamaica, he understand that audience. Versus, he don't just go out there and say, I'm just gonna do me. He actually studies where he's at. All right, Trouble, I'm gonna play this song because I know back in 1995 this song was the biggest thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, Shaggy and Sean Paul, I mean, they sing about Tony Mataran, you know what I mean? Like, in their stuff, you know, so I'm sure they, you know, they're also, he's been an influence upon them as well in some ways, and it's great that you work with them.
And one of the things that he told me, like, you know, when I used to perform with him, and a secret to even performing on stage that he told me, he was just like, yo, you have to use your eyes like a lens, because he know that I did the video production stuff also. He's like, yo, you see how the lens could zoom into that audience? It's like, the minute you step out on stage, there's either someone in that stage that know about you, or there's someone that's going to be feeling your vibe more than anybody else. So you have to zoom in on that person, and if that person is vibing with you and they're into your music, find that person and make the performance be like, it's like you're performing to that person, right? Because you know, I don't remember how it goes. There's like a saying that, like, you know, like a person, like one person is smart, but people are stupid. So if people see other people vibing and reacting to you, they'll also do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a tribe mentality.
Right, it's that tribe mentality. So like when you performing, you always have to zoom in onto that one person. And I guess it's the same thing in filmmaking. Now there's a certain film that you're trying to make, you have to zoom into that audience. You got to understand what that audience wants, you know, and then you make the film for that audience. And if that audience is now going out and talking about this film and saying, hey, this film was great, you know, other people will now react to it. You know, so yeah, I don't know what you could take from that, but you know, those are some of the things I take little lessons that I might learn doing music, and I apply it to film.
Yeah, no, that's all. You know, look, there's no one way of doing anything. You know, I've found that, and it's, you know, the one thing that any artist, filmmaker, be it or otherwise, can give anyone is your point of view. You know what I mean? It's how you see things, right? So that's what you're offering out there, and that's kind of what you did. What do you think in terms of, you know, when it comes to the ambition, you know, of these millennials in the film world, doing these video blogs, doing this stuff here, is there something that, you know, that if you had to do it over in this day and age, that you would do differently? You know, like what advice would you give to them, I guess is probably what I'm asking. Someone that's looking to come up and they say, look, you know, I want to make music videos the way you did, you know, and or you know, get into film the way that you have, or, you know, like what would be your advice to these millennials?
Do it. You know,
I guess it goes back to the go mode do thing, huh?
Stop wanting to do anything, just do it. You can't sit down and keep talking about doing something. You just have to do it. There are those who do and there are those who don't, and life is pretty simple. It's either you're doing something or you're not doing it. You know,
yeah, definitely.
The only advice I would tell, I think a lot of people, there's so many things going on with technology, blogging, the internet, social media, and all these things, and they're great tools, you know, and you have to use them, but don't use them to your detriment. I know people that want to do things, and there's a lot of people pretending to do things out there. Like, I've met guys who I've been on their page on Instagram, and there are always these pictures of this big cameras, and they're working in production, and you would look at them and you say, damn, well, this guy's really doing something. But when you meet them in person, they don't even know how to turn on a camera. You know, they were probably the janitor on the set, and they just posing. Like,
they're posing, they're faking it till they're making it.
Right.
I guess.
And I guess that's cool, but if you really want to do this, you have to really study your craft. If you really want to spend more time, social media is great because, you know, you put your work out there, you can also get business. It's a great tool to promote yourself, but at the end of the day, you really have to work on your craft. You know, especially if you want to make it a career, you have to spend hours and hours and hours just working on your craft. And there's a time for everything. Once you've developed that product, then there's the time where you just spend all your time marketing it, because now I have a product. Let me market the hell out of this. Let me spend 24 hours on social media, in meetings, just marketing and trying to sell my product. But I find that a lot of people are going backwards. They're spending a lot of time marketing a product that they don't have yet, or in meetings talking about something that they can't do. You know, so and then someone believes in them and decide to put up some money, and then you can't deliver. You're running around because you were pretending to know how to do this thing, but you don't know how to do it. And that's fine if you want to be a producer and you want to bring people together and you know the people that can do it. Then yeah, you should position yourself to be that social media guru, that a person that could go out there and get people to be interested in something. Then that'll be your job. But then you have to know the people that could actually do it. And I've seen a lot of people make that mistake. So if you want to be a director, get directing. Direct every goddamn day. Direct your cat to walk down the stairs. Learn how to talk to people, how to get in the psyche of people, and how to direct them or get them to do what you want. Study that in every aspect of your life, and spend more time doing that than doing anything else. You know.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I sometimes I'll give like a guest lecture at you know, at the film schools or what have you down here, and the one thing that I always tell the students, I'm like, you know, you can learn, you know, filmmaking, you know, learn the cameras, learn, you know, the equipment, or get a cinematographer to light your stuff the best way, whatever. But the one thing that you need to do is to really be informed about life itself, you know, behavior in general, just understanding how people behave, the psychology of that, like I feel like that will give you the most bang for being able to create something that's great. So yeah, no, totally with that, man. Well, hey man, look, it's been great chatting with you. This was a real impromptu piece, you just passing through New York, heading back up to Atlanta and making this stop in here, and getting a chance to chat with you a little bit about some of the stuff that you're doing and working on and the things you've done in past. And certainly within the show notes, I'm gonna put some of those links so people can find Insects and go check it out. If for any of you that have not seen it yet, you definitely want to see it. It's a really great short film. And also, just follow Deuce Benny in general. What's the best place for people to follow you, in terms? I know you're not a guy that's always on the internet.
I am on Instagram as Deuce
Instagram.
Benny. That's DEUSBENI, and yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Okay, so
I'm not very active, but if you hit me, I'll respond. But I'm not always posting, but I have a few things there. I try to balance it because I have to be busy actually learning this craft.
And you always doing that, man.
The product is as best as I can make it.
Yeah. How do you define success? Because I've known you for a long time, and different iterations of your life and different stages of it and so forth, and I've watched you evolved in different ways, and I'm just curious, for yourself now, at this stage of the game where you are, how do you define success?
The way I define success, I guess the basic thing is, are you happy? Do you enjoy what you're doing? And a lot of people define it with money, but I know so many people that have the money and they're not happy, and they're not. I would define success as constantly being able to feed your ambition in a way, always being able to feed your ambition. If there's something that you want to do, you go out and do it, and you set a goal, and if you could make that goal and surpass it, then you're successful. And don't measure that goal with dollars, because we don't control money. Like, we can't print that shit. You know what I'm saying?
We would like to.
We would like to be able to, but we can't print it. So if I say to myself, I want to do a short film and I want to finish that short film, I'm successful.
That's right.
Even with music, people said, yeah, man, I always thought you would have made it big. And I'm like, I did make it big. I wanted to create music and I wanted to tour. I wanted to go different places and perform music. I've been to Africa, I've been to Costa Rica, I've been all over performing my music. I never said I wanted anything else. I was doing, when I was first doing music, I was more behind the scenes, and I like to write for people, and then people said, hey, you could be the artist. And I started performing, and I was able to accomplish a lot. And then I found interest in something else, and I decided, I like this film world, and I've made a film. I wanted to shoot music videos. I've made plenty of music videos. So I would consider myself successful, and I'm able to live doing what I love to do. I've created my own job. You know what I'm saying?
You did it your way.
Yeah, I did it my way. I left corporate America in 2007 and never looked back. And at first, it was tough. And sometimes you try to measure yourself against your peers and say, where were they in life versus where I am. Like, damn, everyone is getting married, they're having kids, they're buying a home, and they're doing this. And sometimes those thoughts creep in your head, but you just got to really just keep working. And now, today, I'm pretty much at the same place where everyone else is, and looking to potentially surpass that, because I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing. I'm in control of how much I make or don't make. If I feel like sleeping today, I can't sleep.
The life of a freelancer.
I could come check my boy Terence, just drop in, and be like, what's up? Let's do this podcast and just talk about what we're passionate about and what we love doing. And I feel like, that's successful. In the middle of the goddamn day, I could come to Terrence's house. His beautiful wife is making some eggs, and we're just talking about film and talking about what we could do together and how we could grow and be on this podcast. And if that ain't success, then I don't know.
I'm with you, man. I'm totally with you on that, because I think that's one of the reasons why we've been together for so long, and you notice that I keep a very small circle of people, and I could probably count them on one hand, you being one of those people. And and the one thing that I find that's common in that small circle of people is that we all pick up and just go do our stuff. We just get up. It's like, make a film, let's go do it. I mean, for Michelle feature film that I just did, I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna go make a film. And put together production, called you guys in, come in for a couple of days, get some actors in from New York, come in for a couple of days, got some from the Carolinas, and just went ahead and made it. And just let it happen. Back right out of film school, I remember the first film I did, Avatar: Life After Addiction. I picked up a camera, not even with a boom mic, with 26 actors and no crew, and made a film. Yep. And I spent a year editing it and then lost it all on my machine. I had to redo the entire edit again, which took me almost another 4 months, I think, to do. But you know what? I was happy for doing that because I was able to just pick up and go do it myself. I didn't second guess myself. I'm not saying that it was a great film, but I learned a shitload of stuff on that. And I noticed that's the common theme of the people that that I consider within my close circles, that's kind of how they operate as well. It's like, you know what, we're just gonna pick up and go do this, and not gonna spend too much time thinking about it. And there's things that I've spent too much time thinking about and haven't been able to execute it and wasted time on it and have to come back and redo or revamp. But I was always learning something in the process. You know what I mean? And when it came back to, defining success, having that freedom to just do what you want to do when you want to do it, that's success for me as well, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because a lot of people don't have that. People can make $500,000, but they're stuck.
I tell you something. Last week I was in, and it's hard work. I don't want people to feel like being successful always means that you could do whatever you want, because sometimes you can't do it at the time you want to do it. Right. Let's just be honest about that. You might have a client that well, this is the day you have to do it, and you can't wake up and be like, shit, I don't feel like doing it. This is my business. Right, I'm running my company. So sometimes you kind of are a slave to your business, but the thing that comes out of it is the enjoyment. I had a shoot that I had to do. I left my house 3 a.m. in the morning to drive 7 hours to the end of North Carolina to shoot with the artists, and we shot for 8 hours. I got on the road and I headed to New York, which is a 9-hour trip. So I was literally on the road for about 24 hours, and I was tired as hell, But I didn't say to myself, damn, man, I hate this job. Like, I would probably say if I was working to build someone else's company and to build someone else's dream, after doing a 24-hour run, it just wouldn't feel like it's worth it. But because it's mine and I'm building it and I'm growing it and I know that I could pass it on to my kids, I felt great about it. I got up the next morning and I had a shoot and I did it all over again. And that's what keeps you going. That's like that's like the fuel that keep you going, because this is yours. This is your legacy that you're building, and the beautiful part, and the part that I love about it is like, if my kids are interested, because they may not, this is something that I could pass on to them, versus if I was working for a corporation and something that wasn't mine, it would be the same cycle again. My kids would have to look for a job and there would be nothing. Right. So if there's something I could leave to them, it's just this legacy. And then even if they're not interested in this and they want to be successful, I could leave them with the fact that they were able to see what it takes to be successful. They saw me getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, packing up that Jeep, packing up that truck, and hitting the road wherever I needed to be, So, and I think kids learn more from what you do than from what you say, So you can't tell your kid, hey man, you got to go after your dreams, yet you didn't chase yours. If they saw you on the couch watching TV and complaining about working for someone else, I guarantee you 90% of the time that's what they will do.
That's right.
So I take pride in just trying to figure out myself what it takes to be successful, but also showing them what it takes. So when they meet those challenges, they could be like, well, shit, my dad used to get up 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna do this, you know.
Yeah.
And that's it.
No, absolutely, man. And you know, the great thing that I wake up and I'm always grateful for, and that is to say, you know what, as filmmakers, you know, as a director, writer, producer, editor, you know, whatever it is, we're creating something that is going to live on long after we're dead and gone. You know, that someone can go back in the archives and say, you know what, let me see what Troublesum did, you know, back in 2017. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh wow, look at that music video or whatever. It might be completely dated at the time, but the thing is, you know, those people might be learning something from that, or at least it's something that they can go back and look at, you know, whereas working in a regular job, I mean, you know, everyone makes an impact in different ways, of course. I'm not saying that working in corporate America, you're not making an impact, because that's completely not the case.
Nah, not at all.
But the fact that we have a medium that will sit there long after we're dead and gone, that people can go back to, is, I always try to not take that for granted, because, you know, that's a privilege, man. You know, what we get to do is a privilege. And it doesn't come at a cheap price. It doesn't come easy. Because we enjoy it and make it look easy doesn't mean it is. But it's a privilege when you think about it.
Yeah, and I don't want to knock anyone that works a 9 to 5, because if that's what you want to do and you're passionate about that and you love the impact that you're making and what you're learning and you're enjoying your growth, that's great. I'm talking to the people that's there and knowing deep within themselves that, yo, I want to create films. I want to do whatever. I want to be an artist. I want to go on stage. You have to do it. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people I'm really talking to. Like, you have to do it, because there's nothing worse than knowing that you have all this talent inside of you and you can't do anything with it, you know? And then you're looking back at your life and saying, damn, I never took that step. You know, because I was like, I come from a family that they work until the day they die. You know, whether it's in sanitation, whether it's in the medical field, you know, every day they get up and they go to work. Probably like the only one that I know of in that family that's decided to do something better, because I was definitely on that path. I've been working since I was 16 years old. I was at JP Morgan Chase, graduated from school, got a position there. And it was well in my 20s, maybe like 25, 26, that I decided to make that jump. And even at that point, plenty of people were telling me, man, yo, you're too old to do that. You know what I'm saying? You're about to hit your 30s. You should be, you know, like, it was too late. Even though I was always performing and doing stuff on the side, you're not really an artist until you've committed to it and say, yo, I'm doing this. This is my life. And you just got to surround yourself with people that's doing that, because I've lost a lot of friends that I went to school with. And I didn't really lose them, but I stopped hanging out with them because they weren't into what I'm doing. So if I'm telling you about a project I'm working on, the first thing someone that was in finances or in the banking industry would say is, well, how much are you making? And then when you tell them, well, you know, I'm doing that for free just to learn, they couldn't understand that. So like they would say things, and I mean, it would be like, you know, something smart to say and make you consider a point, but at the same time, they was crushing your dreams. So at some point, you just
don't let anybody crush your dreams, y'all.
Yeah, you have to make that. You have to make that separation. It's nothing personal with them, but they just don't do what you do, and they don't understand it. They understand everything from finances and being able to measure how successful things are based on a dollar amount. And when you go into the creative world, you can't measure it on a dollar amount. A lot of the measurement, sometimes, a lot of the joy you get and the payment you get is when someone comes to you and they appreciate your art. Hey man, I love that song, man. That film you made really hit me. That's even worth more to you than the dollars you were paid to do it, you know? So it's a different ruler you have to use to measure stuff. So if you're around people that don't understand that, you could easily get discouraged. So I would tell people, let's try to surround yourself with people that's doing what you're doing, that could motivate you and give you that energy to get up and do it every day. You might have to take yourself away from a few family members, man. And that's just the realness of it. It's a whole different world that you live in, you know, and you have to surround yourself with people that's in that world.